So welcome everyone to the Trusoul podcast. It's going to be episode 4 today, and we are here with my man Alex Bond, a good friend of mine. He's a good friend. He's a DJ and a producer as well from the Liverpool and Widnes region. So he's just been going around the local area, the northwest England, just smashing it. My man's been doing big bits this year, even though we've had this lockdown and stuff. Yeah, exactly. We've had all these challenges coming against us, and you've still been doing bits. So good on you, man. Good on you.
Appreciate that, mate. Appreciate it.
So yeah, he's been doing massive things with Friktion. If you haven't heard of Friktion, the links to everything will be down below. Oh, you got the Friktion t-shirts.
Got the top on, repping the merch. Yeah.
That's decent. That's a decent design. That.
It's a nice little design, isn't it?
So what, did you make it yourself? Yeah. Or did you just get
No, Ellis made these ones, so bit of a plan for down the line, sell a bit of merch. So
that's good. Is that Ellis Stewart? Yeah. Is that his name?
Yeah.
That's who works with you. So you've got Jordan Robinson who works with you as well, and then Ellis as well. So they're the three to do Friktion.
Friction free, we like to call ourselves.
Friction free. That's good.
Friction free. A bit of alliteration.
That's good. That I like that, to be honest. Yeah, that's good. But they've been smashing it. They've done one event so far. They've had a couple planned, and it's just been smacked back against him. So this year they've been trying to get everything sorted, and they've got these two lineups that we're going to be coming up. So you got October, is it, and November, October 28th.
Yeah, October 17th for the first one, and November 28th, which is it's not been announced yet, but I'm hoping that one's going to be a bit more lenient, but obviously who knows, at the minute we're fighting a bit of an uphill battle, aren't we? So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Exactly. Yeah, we even with this side as well, we got a couple of events booked, and then we just don't know about that now. Like you said, people just not getting back to you, and that it's just because people don't know, do they? Though, you know what I mean? People don't know what they can do.
Yeah, there's a lot of venues trying to take full capacity bookings, just sort of preempting now. And if they've done it for like early November, so I've got tickets for it, for example, at Kitchen Street, where they've sold it for full capacity. And it's just how do you guess that with like the information we've got to go off at the minute? So it's either you take the risk or you don't sort of confine with the rules at the minute.
Yeah, because you'd have to probably refund people if it sells out, wouldn't it? If the capacity came back, you'd be like, all right, we'll have to refund.
Yeah, it's a big risk at the minute. Big risk, big reward, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, that's what I mean. The more you risk it, the bigger reward you're gonna get.
Exactly.
I mean, especially if people have a passion for it. I mean, it's just been so mad for all these people. They're just actually the music industry's been fucked this year. It actually has.
Yeah, it really has. Like, I mean, people are suffering from it. I mean, I think certain people will profit in a way as we come out of COVID, because everyone just wants to get back to it, don't they? But I mean, I've heard about venues not getting a grant really, or just getting a grant that covers them for a couple of months. But then obviously they're being told that they can't even run an indoor event at a low capacity, but not giving money to keep it running. You're going to see like loads of clubs shut down. It's just going to take a big toll on the scene, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a horrible thing about it, to be honest, because even though like loads of places are going to be shut down and that, there's going to be the real estate there for people to buy up, but it's just not going to be the same. You're going to have to wait a couple of years until people can be like, all right, let's buy this place that used to be, let's say, for example, Imperial and Widnes that got shut down and stuff like that. You know what I mean? The Widnes,
even like the nightclubs and things like that. Everywhere has suffered because they're just not making it easy for you to run still within the rules, are they? You can't even have like an indoor event just at reduced capacity, so it's hard at the minute.
That's what
I mean. I guess that's where we got lucky with having like a place like Meraki. And obviously you've seen Checkpoint Charlie have thrived selling. They've sold out every event they've done so far. So venues like that have obviously managed to adapt to it, but then certain venues they just can't even manage to run anything.
No, it's annoying though, isn't it? Because like, if they could just do some sort of outside event. I mean, didn't they do something in Manchester where they literally just blocked off a street and just had like a massive street party or something? Or was that cancelled? Are you heard about
Social Avenue? Is Social Avenue that you're on about? Or?
I think so. I know Sarosian was playing there. That's all I knew. You know
well,
I mean? So,
I think it's Social Avenue you're talking about. Well, I think they're running events pretty much every weekend now, and I mean they've really, I think they've really done well from that. So obviously Sarosian's been there with Moxie quite a lot. Kaluki have done parties there. I think they've got a lot coming up. Again, that's just like a socially distanced, really well staffed event. So I mean, it's just a new chapter basically, isn't there? Everyone's gonna have to adapt to it at the minute. It's a sad reality, but it's what we're dealing with now.
Exactly, yeah. But the people that can adapt to it are the ones that are gonna thrive as well, because you know what I mean. People are like, well, these are an amazing party when COVID came down and everything like that.
Yeah,
even the illegal ones, I know they weren't like meant to be happening and stuff, but
yeah.
I know it was a bit of a wishy-washy one, but they did well, and you can't, even though it's like, oh, why did he do them? You can understand why people went at the same time, and
It's a bit of a grey area, isn't it? It's like
it's probably a black area, to be honest. No,
yeah,
it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it because they all got arrested, didn't they?
I mean, it's clear where they went wrong on that. Like, obviously remain nameless, but I think I've heard of a lot of people do it where you'll tell your mates, they'll tell their mates, and it's word of mouth. You show up and it's just no trouble. It all goes well. And then there's a difference between starting Facebook pages for it, starting like creating an event on Instagram and stuff like that, where it's not even private, and exactly. you just know troublemakers will turn up, the police will turn up, and then you can get all your equipment seized. Like the police have the right to take all your equipment if you're throwing an illegal rave, so it's just not a risk worth taking unless you're keeping it in a really small group.
I don't think it's a risk worth taking, but it's just like they've done well, so they've used that brand or whatever to actually go on to actual proper events. I've seen anyway, they've used like actual proper events, and I think that's decent, but I wouldn't personally do it myself, obviously. But no, you can see that there's been there's been some
people are being pushed to, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. People are being pushed to do it. People just want to go out, and that's why I reckon that's what he wanted to do, the lenient thing last month. Do you know what I mean? For August and that, so people could go. It just doesn't make sense to me now. Why did they just go in? All right, you can't. Do you know what I mean?
And just retracting on it. Yeah. When we bought this October event, I was speaking to the promoter, and he said same score as last time, but it'll be a lot more lenient. And then I checked my phone probably about half an hour later, and it was Sky News heading groups of 6, like maximum allowed to go out now. So I mean, we can still run the event because it's a table service event. So you're booking groups of 4 to 6, I think it is, and you stay near or around your table. You can stand up and things like that, but drinks are brought to you and stuff like that. But I think there was a plan to make it a bit more lenient. But it's just going to go back to being quite locked down, really.
Well, is there going to be things like the tables being separated even further, or is it just like how it was last time?
Yeah, I mean, we've been because the first event we threw was the beginning of August. I'd imagine this next one will just be the same score as that, because it was still pretty up in the air then, wasn't it? I mean, the tables have got enough separation between for like walkways and things like that. So I can't see it being too different. But like the score last time was you just booked in tables of 4 to 6, turned up, allocated a table, and then you just asked to stay as close to it as possible. Really, there's a one-way system going to toilets, and you can't go to the bar. The drinks are just brought to you. So everything went really smooth. To be honest, you get a couple of people that just get a bit too rowdy, like. There was people like dancing on tables and things like that, and I think they've done like a free strike warning system. It was a bit mad, obviously, to be running an event where they're putting something like that in place, but they've got to protect themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's all about protecting the venue, because if something comes back to them, people are recording the whole time, and say if that goes on Instagram. And some little COVID marshal, just little knobhead, just tries to look at it and goes, "Oh my god!" and calls up the police or something. You never know.
Anything they can.
They can get some. I mean, especially when they've lost so much funding already. You know what I mean? You've got to think about the businesses and stuff like that. I mean, even in Wetherspoons, we went to Wetherspoons randomly just once, like a random night, like when it first opened, and like.
Oh, is this during COVID? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like when it first opened, and. Literally, I only had like a pint and I just wanted to see how it was, you know what I mean? Just wanted to see how it was and
test the waters.
And it was all sweet. But do you remember Josh Doran?
Yeah.
He seen us in there and he came up to us and he was talking, but he was like 2 meters away from the table, and like someone came over and was like, "No, sit down now," and he was being like pure mad with him.
Wow. Like, was that staff or
some staff? Yeah, obviously.
Oh, I thought you just meant something. No, we've
surprised me though.
You wouldn't be surprised. Like, we had a table put at the observatory, and I think what had happened basically is my mates had gone in and basically said like this table was booked for us, and they asked someone to move, and then I showed up and sat on there, and you just hear him start kicking off, going like, "How can they reserve that table but we couldn't reserve one?" It's like, you just have to ring. He was like, "No, but we were here before him. We booked it before," and he was going like, "And there's more than 6 of them. I bet they don't live together." I was like, well, you've still got a table. The table was basically identical. I think he just wanted like a better view of the telly or something, but it was just such an easy system to ring up and book. But I think people just like a reason to kick off, don't they?
Yeah, therefore the people are just not happy. If people are not happy with themselves, you just try to blame it on other people, don't you? You know what I mean? It's always like throwing the blame that way. instead of throwing it and be like, oh, why am I getting asked about some people sitting down at another table? Like, come on. Like, it's not
insignificant, isn't it? It doesn't affect you at all.
It doesn't affect you at all. I mean, it's not hard to do either, you know what I mean? It's not hard to just go, can I just book a table here? Thank you.
Yeah.
See you later. I've done it.
And don't be sorted.
Yeah, exactly. But I was at a fruit machine. I was like sat at a fruit machine, and like I think it was Lewis next to me or something. Someone come up to me and just went, "You got to sit down now. One of you sit down. There's only one person allowed." I'm like, "Oh, like, chill." I was like, just collecting. Like,
so there's a line, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to protect like where you're working for and make sure people are being moderately sensible. But I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. You could go and book a table with Lewis and sit right next to him. Yeah. But if you go to a fruit machine,
that's it. Like,
exactly. It just doesn't add up, does it? But no, I'm glad we've managed to get October penciled in regardless. I was a bit worried at first that it was either just going to get called off or it was going to be like police there basically all night, just monitoring things. But it just sounds like it's going to be sort of a carbon copy of what happened on August, and it went really well. So
I think people now are sort of just not finding ways to sort of bend the rules, but I feel like people are just like, okay, these are rules and we've got to work around it at the same time to sort of get the economy thriving as well at the same time, because people are just like, what's the point in staying in? You know what I mean? If we stayed in, we're like, how is the economy going to get better? Like, what are we going to be like doing virtual events online on Zoom? Like, it's just not going to work out, is it?
Got to find a middle ground, haven't you? There's got to be restrictions in place. Like, I'd never encourage things going back to how they were before COVID, but there's got to be a middle ground in place, or small business owners are just going to get the brunt of it.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen a lot of places in like different countries, like in Italy, and they've been doing like masks at a rave, and it's been completely fine. You know what I mean? Like,
really?
Yeah. So like, I think it was Bibby playing at some place in Italy, and it was actually no social distancing, but they were all like just had masks on, and I mean, no, from what I know anyway, no like sort of comebacks came to them. And like, if we're thinking like, even though it's not like as much, even though it's not like going like, oh, if you wear a mask, you're not, you know what I mean? It's not guaranteed you're gonna get a virus anyway. And people, they don't know. I mean, if just wearing it in shops and that, what's stopping people from doing it? You know what I mean? Wearing it for an actual rave and just like sort of standing up dancing, or like, you know what I mean? Even though it's not, you know what I mean? It's not ideal. No one's saying
it's a compromise, isn't it?
It's a compromise.
The culture in Italy is mad. Like when we went to the Kappa Future over there, I wouldn't be surprised if people were just wearing masks for the fun of it anyway. I'm pretty sure I've seen a couple of people wearing them, but it's like it's just completely different, like how they treat like the whole rave culture. Like you had I seen a guy, for example, walking around with like cross tapes over his nipple, like duct tape over both nipples. Just walking around with his top off. Yeah, like literally. And then you'd see like I just couldn't wrap my head around it, and then you'd see like groups of people like stood in like circles or like huddles, and they'd just be like chanting like songs in Italian. I just can't imagine seeing it in England, like going to Creamfields or something, and people are just chanting like football songs in the crowd or something. I hated that because it's just so distracting. But it's their culture, I guess, and the crowds are brilliant. There are a lot of DJs there. It's a favourite place to play. So
I can imagine that. Yeah.
An energetic crowd. So
I can definitely imagine that. I mean, to be fair, seeing the videos from there each year, it's madness. The sets are unbelievable. Like, like the design of the actual sets themselves, like the stages. And
the stages,
they're mad. I don't know why I said sets, but the stages are actually mad.
It's it got voted best European festival of the year last year. I think we done 2 days there for £60, which is just mental. That's like it's like a day ticket at a festival over here, and it was just 10 times better basically
than what an actual normal festival would be like. I mean, I think it's the culture and everything like that you've got around it, though. I think it's just like it's just like, get as many people as they can possible, whereas we're like just charging like $500 for the event. You know what I mean? 'Cause there's not that many.
It was crazy as well though, because I think it sold out, but even at that price, you went there and you had space around you. You didn't feel like, which was good in the heat, you didn't feel like you had crowds of people around you, whereas you'll go like a festival like Park Life over here, and it's massive, isn't it? But you'll still charge ridiculous amounts for the tickets and massively oversell it. Like I just hate going there. There's so many stages where they have to turn people away, or you have to literally like barge your way through people to get into like the Palm House stage, and they'll get lineups in there that are like some of the most renowned DJs in the world, and they'll just make it the worst stage ever. They'll make it so small so it's packed, it's dead hot, the speakers don't reach to the back, and it's just, for me, it's just sloppy production goes into it. Whereas you go somewhere like Kappa in Italy or well, obviously I've heard Tomorrowland as well, but I've not managed to get there yet. And from what they say, everything's just done right, basically.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I always I don't understand, like at Circus and like Bramley Moor and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They have the speakers at where the stages, but no other speakers around, and they're not connected to the same way. And if you're at the back, you can't hear everything because it's that far. It's always like when you're like, oh my god. And same like the Palm House as well. When we were there on a Saturday, we literally just stood at the back, and it was just.
Well, we stood at the front, and I couldn't hear it. I thought,
you stood like the day before as well, weren't you? But yeah, you still.
I honestly thought the decks had gone off and they were playing like an interlude. Well, I thought someone had like plugged the phone in and was just playing like elevator music, and it was that quiet. It just wasn't good at all. But no, but that's another thing that's sort of impacting the industry at the minute is sound. So basically, there's apparently regulations. Like I can't find like a rule for this anywhere, so I don't know where they're coming up with it from. But they're basically saying if we play music too loud, the police will shut us down. And it was true because the police come in. And that basically said we want it quiet enough so that you can hear the person next to you's conversation. But like my mate done some digging and he's found like the regulation for like music at the minute, and there's nothing that states how quiet you have to have it. So for his event, he's taking a piece of paper with him, you know, in case the police turn up and showing them that. But for me, it's just going to make people congregate around the speaker. If you play it quiet, everyone's going to go to the closest speaker, and then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. I don't understand how the noise of music's going to affect. No, it's just not right, really.
It doesn't make sense. And I mean, I remember seeing an article saying like barbershops, pubs, and everything, they have to be a certain decibel, but you would never stated what decibel, like what decibel of sound you can go to. Barbershops, yeah. So I was asking like Spike and that, you know, an architect, and I was like, do you not have to play music or something? And you're like, oh yeah, at first he did tell us, and someone come in, we had to turn music off, but we just put it back on. I'll be like, how was that going to affect it? I think they're trying to say like, oh, because you'll spit more if there's loud music, so you'll be singing. I was like, for one,
I've never been for Hurtful and started belting a song out with Spike on.
No, like he was having Jimi Hendrix on, and it was a class tune, but no one's going to go and start singing all along the watchtower, are they? Like no one's going to. Go on.
Especially if like he'll usually put like dance music on Spike, you know, to be do singing along to the humming the beat like that.
That's another thing though. Like, so why does it matter for techno events? Because one thing is obviously there's going to be some minimal tunes and some house tunes with like vocals in, because it's some of the best tunes. But like, even though people are singing along, what's people going to sing along anyway, even if it's quiet? So what's it?
The logic behind it is, if the music's quieter, you're not going to raise your voice to speak to the person next to you. But it just doesn't make sense to me, because you're going to go closer. Like I seen it in an event I went the other week where you turn the music down a bit. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't too quiet, but everyone was just at the front, like barricade, which you weren't supposed to be because you couldn't hear the music further back. So you just get everyone congregating around it, which is a bigger risk in essence, really.
In essence, yeah. So like that's what I mean. Another thing as well, why don't you get more speakers around, and even though it's get them linked up so it's playing at the same time, and then that could be another way to do it as well. But it just makes no sense. I reckon personally they're just doing all these things just to be like, when people get cases and when people obviously, God forbid, I hope no one does, but when people die of it and stuff like that, it'd be like, oh well, you can't blame us because we said all these rules and you went against them.
It's a scapegoat, isn't it? It's like the, not to go off the topic too much, like the eat out to help out scheme and things like that. And sending kids back to school, just send school kids back and then try to blame school kids for standing too close to each other. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's backwards. You make the action. People, you know what people are going to do. And it's just a scapegoat for them to say, well, they're the problem, not us for telling them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just seems like pointing fingers, you know, like the Spider-Man meme where it's just like, it's pointing fingers. That's what I mean. That's all it sounds like. That's all it seems like to me. And it's just,
that's the government at the minute, isn't it? Just
exactly,
all stood there like
that. But like, obviously,
who's in charge?
Exactly. But like, I get it, because like, what would you do in that situation? Like, I wouldn't know what to do, because you make one decision and regardless, something else is going to come off the backhand. So you may as well just be like, well, that's
why I mean, you aren't politicians, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean.
We'd never be expected to make them decisions, because I never ever wanted to go into that job.
No, but exactly. Like, I don't think
they should be able to.
Yeah, exactly. They should be able to. But like, I don't get how they can anyway, and I don't get how they can be like, all right, well, you just can't do this and you just can't do that. But like, this is one thing I was going to ask you about. What do you think about the Patrick Topping thing? Did you see it in Newcastle?
Yeah, I know a few people who went. It's I prefer the events that we're running personally. but obviously I've not experienced it to have that opinion. You've got to make the most of a situation like this, so I understand why they're doing it. It's just not for me at all. I think one of the good things about going to a rave, like people obviously associate it with just going to get off your face and just basically as a release, but speaking to other people and networking with other people. So like me and Charlie went to Glass last week at the Ludes Down. It was a great event, but we sat on a table with 4 other people because it was just me and him. So obviously you can't just get your own table.
Yeah.
And you just got on dead well. Like, obviously it could go either way. It could be a gang of knobheads, but it was just a lovely bunch of people. And then even if you don't end up speaking to them after, it's nice to meet new people, like-minded people, and just have a chat with them. So I think with them pods, like at the top of an event, for example, it's just not for me really.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's what I mean. I know exactly. That's one of the things. That's one of the things that takes away from it. That like that's one of the best aspects. And I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say, like, what are the best ways of, like, the best things about raving? And even though you said, like, people just go, oh, let's just drink loads and just get off your face and just start dancing around. It's not the main aspect of it. I mean, when I first went, it was literally just, like, it amazed me how, like, you could just speak to some random head. Like, oh, you? Where are you from? You just be like, oh, class, and have the proper good conversations. And because you're there to see sort of the same people, you like the same music, you can have actual, like, conversations where you can relate to each other, and it really helps. I mean, the majority of the time you don't really speak to them afterwards, but it's good while you're there. I mean, like when we went Park Life the first year, we met like some random lads. We didn't see him after that day, but we just got on so well with him. Like, yes, lad, who are you? Yes, where are you from? Leicester, like class. And it was just like we just got on dead well with him, and that
I think I might have been with you, you know.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, do you remember? I can't remember the name now, but like they were class.
I do know what you mean. Yeah.
They were class lads, and we think we just didn't get the number or something, but like. We were just like, oh, see you later, and just got off.
Yeah, you just expect to bump into him again, but like, exactly. No, it's crazy. It's people you wouldn't speak to usually as well, which I like. I wouldn't walk down the street and just speak to a stranger because I'm not shy, but I'm not that outgoing that I just make conversation with someone like at a bus stop, for example. But it's different when you're there, like you say. If you're purposely going to a stage to watch a certain DJ and you see someone else that has, you've instantly got common ground, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And I sort of like how you said about the pod events at the minute. I like how these sit down events, as much as it's restrictive and obviously you have to adhere to certain rules, you can still, like, I obviously walk around my own events and like just see how everyone's doing. You can still go and have chats with people and that, I think, whereas them pod events, you're not just going to walk around, are you, going up to random people's pods and be like, you all right, mate?
Exactly.
So yeah, the table service events are the best alternative at the minute for me. It just depends how strict the promoters are and how well they think into it. If they're going to turn the speakers down loads and not have enough dotted round, then it's just going to ruin it. But like, no, Meraki was perfect for us. They had a really good event, so that's why we're obviously going back for the next one. Yeah. Probably for me, the events have been during COVID. It's probably the best place at the minute, doing it the best.
That's good then. I mean, yeah, they just, I think from videos I've seen, I've not been myself personally, but I'd like to go to the next one and stuff like that. But I think personally, it just looks like it's the closest thing you can get to. I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but it's the closest thing you can get to like having like some sort of party and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like a good sort of party. And I mean, like you said though, it's not as. I mean, I'm not saying you can still go around and sort of talk to people as well at the same time, and you can still talk to people from afar. You can be like, "Oh, how are you doing?" Because it's that close and that sort of close knitted that it actually just helps. And because it's outside, you're not going to be like breathing in everyone else's stuff and everything like that. No. You know what I mean?
Like, not to blow our own trumpet or anything, but someone actually come up to me, it was Evan, come up to me and said, "No word of a lie, this is the best event I've been."
That's good.
So like to be able to replicate something like that. I mean, it's like a garden party in a way, isn't it? Obviously, a garden party would be stood up, but it's not so many worlds apart really. Outside, nice weather. I mean, they've got a cover now for like rain and or wind as well. But you're still in a garden party having a drink, and you're with your mates. You can speak to people. You can still stand up just by your table. It's not a world away from where we were beforehand.
Yeah, definitely. Do you reckon in the future more outside events is something that you're going to probably look into doing because of the fact that Friktion's done so well from this Meraki stuff?
Yeah, that I love them, to be honest, and I think obviously people won't know watching, but like the sound we push is like minimal house, so like I think it's perfect for day parties. You can obviously integrate it into like nighttime indoor events. It's something we're going to try with the November event. Obviously, it'll probably be seated, but we're going to try an indoor event with that. But for me, garden party vibes, especially while the sun's out, is just perfectly suited to like minimal and deep house music because it's a nice chill vibe, but you've obviously still got like the funky groovy aspect of it. So for me, outdoor events would be perfect. But obviously, it's something you can't predict all year round.
Yeah,
you know, sure. On a day it could rain. You could have sold out the event, and people might not turn up, especially if you've not got like a roof or a gazebo covering it. So it's just you've got to play that risk basically.
Yeah, especially the UK weather. Like it's just no, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
there's no way predicting it. Is there really?
Unpredictable.
Like, yeah, definitely.
Massively.
But I think some of the best events that's why I ask, because some of the best events that I've been were literally outside. Some of the best festivals outside. You know what I mean? Like Forbidden Forest, that was amazing. That was just like, I mean, just because the outdoor vibe and you're in nature and stuff, it's just mad. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's better. I do honestly think outdoors is better. It's just like, I think if you think of like your fondest memories from like any dance music events, I think pretty much most of your top 5 are going to be either a festival outdoors, even if it's like a stage day, you're still out and about, aren't you? Or an outdoor event. Like for me, the Denson Peak at Kitchen Street the first time we went is still one of my best ever memories, just because I don't get me wrong, I don't buy into the international football that much anymore, but when the World Cup was on, it was just surreal coming out of watching us win that game against Sweden, and then you come out and I remember by Deadmau5. Wow, and that was played, and you just thought that this is a life. It was about 30 degrees as well, so I always think at that moment, I think I want to replicate that. I want to make people feel like that, where they're going to look back on the event 6 months down the line and think, wow, I want to go back to that event.
Yeah, because that's what's going to keep people coming back to your event even more. Yeah. And I mean, that's why we kept on going back to Kitchen Street all the time, because that first time we went, it was absolutely madness. And
sticks in your mind, doesn't it? You want to go back.
Yeah, defo. And it's just the fact that like there was the DJs on throughout the day were just playing some bangers, and then you got to Denson Peak and they were still completely just smashing it, and everyone's loving it, standing on tables, standing on. It's just, and because it was in such a like a, the way to describe it for people listening, it's sort of like, it was in like some sort of, you have the bar, it's like the outside of the bar, and you go downstairs, and it's just like some sort of, you can't really describe it really. It's just,
do you mean like the setting outside?
Like the setting outside, yeah.
The way I describe it is if they've got like basically a decking area outside where you'd usually use it as like the smoking area, but they'd like cordon the corner off, and that was used as where the decks were. So it's like up on a decking platform, and you've got a DJ up there, and then downwards where all the benches would usually be, you've just got like a big courtyard. Yeah. It's not massive in size, but it's quite intimate, and obviously the DJ's just playing from up there, and it was just like a brilliant. It's about 2 years ago now, this wasn't it?
Yeah, probably 2 years ago. Yeah,
it's still probably one of my favourite events we've been.
Definitely. I mean, it was just an unreal sort of atmosphere as well, and that's one thing I was going to ask, because those DJs on that night, even though they weren't as well known and stuff like that compared to like Denson Peak, obviously, you know what I mean, they were class, you know what I mean. They just kept on going. I mean, what's that lad name who does Dave Chan. He was really good. He was class. Yeah, and just to have more sort of Liverpool sort of people come into your events, is that sort of something you're gonna bring in the future?
Definitely, that's a good question, because it's one thing like over these. I haven't been an event for probably the first like month of when it started. You know, when he started allowing people back in. But obviously mine was the first one we went, and I've been a couple since. I went to a Surge and Glass at Checkpoint Charlie, and like the Surge party, for example, it was just locals, no headliners at all, and it just makes you realise like there's no point just holding off on going events just to see a certain name. Like obviously you want to go and see the favourite DJs, but you can just have such a good time just going and seeing local lads, and sometimes you find like new talents you've never heard of that you might go and see elsewhere. Like we say with Chan, like you definitely go and see him again, wouldn't you, based off that experience? So you should never hesitate thinking like, oh, looks like a good venue, looks like a good day to go, but I don't know anyone on the lineup, because it's just closed-minded, and you're going to limit yourself having a good time, really.
100%. I think people like line up Nazis, you know, like people say like genre Nazis are sort of like oh, I like this person in the lineup or something.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think as much as like a big headliner, and as much as like being an event organizer, you'd want some big headliner on in the future, I feel like having those local people, probably mixed in with a good headliner as well in the future, obviously, but having them local people can bring in them crowds as well from their mates and people.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And then at the same time, it's getting people who don't know them to actually get on them and start listening to him properly. Because I mean, it happens for a lot of people. And if you're listening, you're going, "Oh, I want to go to some sort of DJ event," and you're like, "But I don't know anyone around here." Then just keep it in mind that even if you go to one, you're gonna have a good time regardless. Even if you're like, "Oh, I don't really like this music," or you're still gonna have a good time with your mates, and it's worth going out and sort of experiencing everything instead of just sitting inside doing nothing.
If you don't like it, you don't like it, do you? But like, a good example of what you're saying as well is Kepler that we got on for our first event. That was the first set they played, because I've been speaking to them quite a bit and listened to, like, they've been getting a lot of views on SoundCloud and things like that. So people are obviously noticing them, but they hadn't landed the first event. They came, everyone loved them, and I think they've been booked for, this is mad really, they've been booked for 5 events since, and that event was the start of August. So they had the debut basically, and I think they're playing every weekend in October, one being for us again. So they brought a lot of mates and like gained a lot of fans basically over people that have seen them and know they put a party on. So it's a good example of, like, don't be put off by not seeing a name that you know on the lineup. If you go, you might see someone and think, I want to go and see them again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, good on Kepler for doing that as well, because
that's
a massive dream, that as well, to be fair, to be able to go to a gig and get people to be like, "Oh, that's class, that," and then other organisers, recording it, and other organisers seeing who they are and being like, "Well, these will be good to put on our lineup and everything." It'd be class to actually. It's good promotion as well. You mean, even if you're a DJ going, "Oh," so some DJs would be like, "I don't want to play that event" or anything like that. Even if you go and you can use that to market yourself to other, to get yourself to other gigs, that's probably what they did. You know what I mean? They've probably got other people coming on to them from the videos they did at your event and stuff like that. So,
exactly. Yeah. I think you just need that one chance, don't you? And I'm buzzing that we give it them, because they've done their end of the deal. They played a great set. They brought mates with them, and obviously we've done our end of the deal. We've marketed them, and they're getting bookings and stuff now. But we're sort of going a bit of a different direction with the next couple of events. But everyone's still local. Like, you've got to be sensible booking headliners at the minute, because if you book someone from like Holland or something like that, it could just all go tits up really. And like with these corridors at the minute, you don't know if you're going to be able to get them down. So we've October, we've got Josh Burnett from Manchester coming up, so it's a bit of an up and coming name. He's been on Libero, which is Mike Morrissey's label, and he's releasing, I think, on Yell Ray it's called. So he's released a few tracks on there, done a free download as well for Surge, like the Liverpool label. So he's getting his tracks out there, and he's got like a really, really popular sound. So like, people coming to our events that maybe aren't as clued up on the minimal could still listen to his music and be really into it. So I think that's a good booking for us. And then we've got a booking that I can't speak about too much for November as well. But they're signed to Piv and Render, and Piv's like, I assume you've probably heard of him, it's like Prunk, his label, and you've got like some of the biggest names in minimal basically signed to that. So like, we're ecstatic with that. So we can't wait for that one.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, I think it's good having that sort of genre as well, because you'd be able to get in the mix with all the other labels and help each other out as well, because of the fact that all the other DJs will be signed to them for a certain sound and everything like that. So it is good to sort of see that everyone's sort of coming together in a certain, in a certain genres and that, and they can all help each other. So one of the questions I had, even though all these lineups are great lads, to be honest, like, they're just coming up, you know what I mean? So obviously you don't want to be booking someone from Holland or someone from everywhere. They're not going to come over anyway, because they'll have the 2-week quarantine, could miss out on potential gigs and money and stuff like that. So I understand that. But so say like a couple of years time, Friktion's got like 6 figures in the bank to spend or something like that. Yeah, you got 6 figures in the bank to spend. Who would be like your dream lineup for your minimal acts?
Wow, that's a big question. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a list at the minute of people that we want to book, but that's obviously more achievable. But I mean, there's a few names. One we spoke about this, obviously very ambitious, was Apollonia. I think he played one of the circuses you went. So it's
I'm not too sure, but I mean,
Sean Key,
something that I'd probably get onto him again.
Yeah, always Sean Key, Dan Ganassia, and Died Sounderum. So like they're like a trio. Seen him at Capra as well, who played on the Fuse stage. Even one of them three, we'd love to have doing like an all night long set. You've got like obviously the likes of Stussy and Joko, but I mean, what I'd like to do is get someone that's not played, either not played in Liverpool, or they've not played like a smaller show in Liverpool. They might have played the likes of Circus or something like that, but like to give someone a debut. That's what we're doing with the November event. The guys that are coming down, that's their Liverpool debut, and it's Josh's Liverpool debut as well. But yeah, the dream lineup. I mean, I think if you asked the Friktion three, they'd probably all give like a different answer to you. So like, obviously Jord would love Apollonia to come down. I think Ellis would probably like someone like Stussy or Joko. I've just got so many names for me, but one I've always said, and like I was ambitious enough to try and reach out and do this early doors, was Rich NXT, because I just think I think that'd just be an instant sellout. It really like you give him pretty much an all night long set, and for me that would be key as well as pushing out to Manchester, because
definitely
it was like a lot bigger in Manchester and London as it is. I think Rich is sat from down south, but you could put like a name like that on in Manchester and sell out straight away. Whereas if we were to just go down with residents, you've not got as much of a chance, have you? So that's one of the names I want to pursue in the future. But there's just so many. Like we just throw names in all the time and just put them on a list, and just like it's ambitious, but obviously some are more realistic than the others. So watch this space, basically.
Watch this space, Good. Well, look, this is the thing. Like as much as it seems ambitious, it's good to go for them people as well. Because at the same time, if you're aiming for that, then you're gonna set a certain standard, and then for the other people that are beneath you and the other people that can be coming up as well, you're gonna help them as well from just, you know what I mean, promoting and stuff like that. I mean, you're already getting massive lineups as it is, but you know what I mean, like the fact that you could be like, all right, well, let's go for someone like Joko or Chris Stussy, you know, which are massive names, or like getting them two together. That'd be class. That's the ultimate minimal lineup, really.
That was announced before, just before COVID. So Jay, who owns Surge, him and Elliot, so they're both part of Surge. They were meant to be supporting them in Manchester, and it's one of them events. It just keeps getting pushed back, you know, because obviously they don't want to run it at like a limited capacity, but
it's not worth it.
Feel bad. Like imagine getting told you were supporting Stussy and Joko, and then the event just keeps getting pushed back. But I mean, them two, because obviously they've got their Alias Stussco, haven't they, where they produce together. I mean, that'd just be a dream lineup, really.
Definitely. It definitely would be. I mean, if you eventually get them people down, then it's just gonna sell out, and it's easy to market as well because they've got that many tunes. And even if people don't know them, you like throw up a Facebook ad or something like that, because you know you're gonna get your money back if you target in the right people in the right area. Even people like from certain towns and stuff. Like say if you did Manchester, some people from Bolton, people from even from Blackpool. You know what I mean? If they knew him and they're interested in that music, then they're gonna come up and be like, "Oh, Sam, he's in Manchester. Let's go down there." Because you know what I mean, if those are Manchester, Liverpool, the hubs, ain't they, for proper good music?
Yeah, you've got to think what sells, haven't you? Really, like I always think like pretty much any of the Fuse names, so like Rich NXT, Enzo, even like Roscoe, names like that. I think you'd sell out tickets within hours. Like you've only got to look at them. I mean, I probably answered it wrong. Like I think for the dream lineup for me would be A and OTR, but that would be like
that'd be class, that.
Up there for me. But Binary have booked them for Kitchen Street in November, and I managed to get 2 tickets. I think the tickets lasted half an hour, and that just shows you you've got to like read the room. I mean, the room being pretty much the UK, but you've got to look at what people want. And ANOTR, for example, have just like rocketed since he started producing Minimal. So obviously you look at that, you see how popular they are, and you know you can just sell tickets for it instantly. So you've got to be smart of it, because you might look at your favorite DJ, for example. So like I don't know, I listen to a lot of someone called Ewan Dewan, and like within the Minimal community, he's like really well respected, great producer, but you've got to think as well, would people that maybe came on first event that aren't that educated on Minimal, would they be as eager to buy tickets for him as they would for someone that's like a big name, a marketable name? So you got to think of a lot of things, I think, when you plan your lineups. You've got to think what sound you want to project as well as what's going to sell you tickets.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest things about it, really, isn't it? I mean, as much as you might like someone, and we found this in the past, definitely. If you like oh, these class him, you know what I mean, and be like, oh, let's put him on. You know what I mean? Even though he might be class in your opinion, then other people might not even know him. And even if you they'll do put that marketing in, people will be like, oh, I'm not sure. But if you do someone that people actually properly respect and stuff like that, then you're gonna realize like you'd be like a nota, you know what I mean? You're gonna sell out in like half an hour, and that's when you gotta sort of market towards what other people want as well. As much as you know what I mean, if you sort of get like a headliner, it's like some massive headliner, then you can put other people on that you like beneath it. You know what I mean? That's gonna like getting them up as well at the same time.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd never ever like encourage booking someone that you're not keen on just to sell tickets. Like never do that. But obviously, you've got to make sure it's marketable. You've got to make sure it's sellable. And a big one is like, for example, when we had Ross on for Santos, he just sent me a list of people he'd supported and like videos of like him supporting like Crazy P at Gotwood and stuff like that. You know, if you put that on, people are going to think, well, I've not heard of him, but look at that. Basically, the proof's in the pudding. You don't get to Gotwood supporting like a stage like that without being great. And he was on at Arts House as well, supporting artwork. So people are going to take notice when they see the caliber of who you've been supporting, basically.
Definitely, and that's just going to help them gain up as their own brand, and the more we're going to promote. You know what I mean? I feel like we've got Liverpool, Manchester. We've all got this massive scene of people and massive scene of artists, whereas like Witness and stuff like that, we just don't have anywhere to play apart from Liverpool. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, sound. I mean, I know we did that event in the Abbey and stuff like that. The Observatory. That was
mad, to be honest. Like, I could never have expected it to go as well as it did. Like for the first time round, I just thought like our mates would turn up and like me mum, but you know you get there and you're like, these people are here to see me, and it's only a pub that as well, but like it's just mad, isn't it? Like, looking around and it's just full everywhere, like people just coming to see you play, and it's a boss feeling regardless of what you're playing, even if it's like even if I'm playing like a house party or something and people are getting really into it and like, you know, what tunes you're playing, it's just great to see.
Yeah, even I went pirate in the week, Pirate Studios in Liverpool, for people listening, and like Lewis has, you know, he's makes with some people in Formby and that, the sound lads, and this one lad came down. And like we were like going back to triple back to back, and this one lad came down. He's like, "What Scar? What, you know what I mean?" Like he probably didn't listen to like the type of music, and he's probably getting into it.
Yeah.
And like even that one person, you know what I mean? Even listening to one person going, "You like class this?" I'm probably getting this.
Yeah, you don't understand until you do it. Do you? Like when we had the third Santos event, I went to Pirate myself before it, and the lads that I came down with, like my workmate and his mates, were they're big into like the EDM, like the Van Buren and stuff like that. But he said, I've been getting into techno a bit more. I was like, we'll go down. I'll play you an example of a set so you can run away if you don't like it. But no, all three of them say, "Oh, this is boss. Like you're great and all this." And it's just nice to like get people onto the music you play, and then to see people enjoying it. It's a good feeling.
I feel like definitely techno is going to become this. Like, you know, like how trance was in the 90s, and like techno and minimal tech and tech, like that whole branch of tech genres, I believe is going to become like, well, it sort of already is, but like how trance was in the 90s, how like, you know what I mean, like what dance music was back then. And I feel like after whenever this lockdown ends, it's going to be a massive spike in people wanting to get out and party and stuff like that.
It's going to be crazy.
The music going to be filling it is literally going to be majority house, tech, and just that whole combination. And one thing I was thinking of though, like even though we have like Observatory and random pubs, even though they're not the best venues to play, like, you know what I mean, because it's just like the setup and everything isn't the greatest, but like even though we do have them venues, it'd be class to have just like one little spot in Witness.
I always think this,
where like we could just go down and just get as many people on as possible, just DJing. And we know
we just need to get a bank loan and just buy like a warehouse or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, okay, let's generate all this money. So I'm going to generate all this money from from my dad's side now. I'm going to keep a big pocket of it and just throw it into some place. Like top,
be mad with it. Even if you're renting.
Even if you do renting.
Imagine redoing Top of the Top. That'd be a lot of redoing. I don't know how much money you're making, but I've got a suspicion it's not that much.
No, definitely not. But I mean,
that's a project. That
even if it's just breaking even, I'm not bothered, because it's just like I just some place where we can all come down, and it's like a hub for just DJs to play and people to come down and hear the best sort of DJs from like all around the area. And if we did it in Widnes, it'll bring a lot of economy to the place as well, and also because the fact that Widnes literally has no nightlife scene now. We have Spoons.
Everywhere's shut down, isn't it? Like,
yeah. The Cornell scene is shut down now, isn't it?
Spoons doesn't have a music license, so
no, exactly. Yeah, so it's like,
I don't think they've not got Sky Sports either. So you just go there, got some big projector, just not playing anything. So like, I think maybe someone will rebuy Imperial. It's a good location, isn't it? But like,
definitely.
It's never going to be like the same as going like your Kitchen Streets, your Meraki's, like.
No.
Whereas like I miss Store Street. I never thought I'd say it because I always thought it was like massively oversold. But
I think
like
if it
what a
weren't
venue that was.
oversold, yeah, I think if it weren't oversold, then it would have been like one of the best
Yeah,
venues ever. But
don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those. It's like people too close to me and stuff like that when you're in a venue. But sometimes it was majorly uncomfortable, wasn't it? Like I remember when we went to that 25 years of 25 years of the Essential Mix, was it?
Yeah, with like Eat Everything on Radio 1, man. Yeah.
Basically watching from the bar, weren't we? It was just like so overspilling, but like sometimes that just didn't feel safe. But like that was just an amazing venue.
I think it's just the fact that like you've got like some big headliners on and like the main room, and then you've got like the other rooms where there's like a couple other DJs playing, and not a lot of people are going to play them, even though they had like artwork and on room 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah, that room 2 was great sometimes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was class. We've heard. I like that room 2 to be honest, because it was just weren't as overflowed, and it was just like you could go in there, it's class. But only when the right DJs are playing on. Even to be fair though, even you could walk in there in some events and just be like, "Who's this playing?" Don't know. It's class. You know what I mean? You'd be like, "You'd love it." But like,
I don't think they thought it through sometimes, like that room 2 though, because like I think it was. I wasn't there myself, but I think I seen that they put Salado on in room 2. And they've got like a lot of fans, Salado, haven't they? And I'm pretty sure they had to start letting people in. Yeah, probably. Which people would buy tickets specifically to go and see them.
Salado, yeah.
And then they won't be allowed in.
They won't be allowed in, yeah. And exactly, need to. And I think that's why he did eventually get this new place. I've not been in a new place, to be honest, it's Depot in it, but like.
Oh, have you not?
No, I need to go. I definitely need to go when the next season starts, whenever this starts. But I'll definitely go that one. But I think Store Street, if you could sort of rebuy it. I mean, even though I don't know what's happened to it, I don't know if the Word House still owns them or anything like that. But
I think it's gone back to a car park, because that's what it was prior to it being bought. But I think that's like seems to be a proper persistent debate at the minute: Store Street or Depot. And I think all the like the hardcore OG ravers think if you say Depot, like, you're not a proper music fan, because like Store Street was just dead intimate, wasn't it? But I don't know. For me, Depot, it's huge. I've only been for the one event there, but it's massive. But for me, the other rooms, because I think there's 4 rooms, the other rooms are better than the main one. Yeah. So the main one's like a big dome, but I don't know. It just didn't feel like you were in a proper crowd. Everyone was a bit scattered about. But I've seen Forte in that room, and that was just like the best set of my life, hands down. But they've got a room called Concourse, and they're doing Concourse only shows in there, and that's quite a nice concept. It's like a multi-level dance floor, so you can basically just be like standing behind the DJ. You can be on the main dance floor. You can be on this platform there, and that's like a great room. That'd be a really good one to get us booking like way in the future. But it looked brilliant.
I've seen a video of that. To be honest, it does look amazing. And so I've more like sets like that. I mean, venues like that. You know what I mean? Like if you watch like the boiler rooms, and you got like just like Len Faki and everything with just like random people just behind him, and you know what I mean? It's just like Mortal Grab, but there's like tons of people just like proper just surrounding him. Same with Dennis Salter. I feel like down venues are just such an intimate vibe that you like proper get into it more than you would if everything's spaced out. But obviously this is after COVID and all that. But you know what I mean? I'm not saying like everyone get there close, catch coronavirus or whatever. But I'm not saying that. But like it's just like I feel like once we can do that, it'd be amazing. And like
speaking of Mortal Grab, he turned up at Glass when I was there last week. I think I told you tonight, but like Ludes was on, played like an amazing set, Ludes. But he turned up with this lad with long hair, and it was like I properly recognised his face. And one of the organisers come over and was like, "Just letting you know, guess who's behind the decks? Think MG." Like, wow, Mortal Grab just stood behind the decks just supporting his mate. But it was mad to see him turning up, like, especially like, at the minute in this climate. But I was just hoping in the back of my mind he was going to jump on and play a set as well.
Did you not know? I seen
no.
That. I mean, that would have been class though if you would have. But at the same time, it's like you got to pay me for that. Like, yeah, but
just bank transfer me, no problems. 50 grand.
50 grand for that. Yeah. But like he's massive now. You know what I mean? He's done like remixes.
Yeah, he's smashing it.
Even though Skrillex is like fucking dubstep and that, he's done like a remix for Skrillex that I really like.
Oh, we don't talk about Skrillex.
I know.
It's a soft point for me. That. It was that Fortet set was just unbelievable, and then it went Fortet, Skrillex, Fortet, back to back Skrillex. So. I don't know, we ducked out a couple of songs into Skrillex because it was just like old dubstep. You know what? Something like the dubstep artwork used to play, and like Summer Disclosure, it was actually really like they just put a playlist on Spotify with some of it, and it was like music that inspired them from dubstep, and it was all right. But no, Skrillex's stuff, I just hate it. It was like that was the new age of dubstep, wasn't it, when everyone left it?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously come on after Fortet, and we left the room. Thought we'd go back for the back to back because we thought, it'd be an interesting set. It might bounce off each other.
Yeah.
But he must have had like the first 5 songs, Skrillex, and he's just hated it. Like you don't want to switch the mood up that much, do you?
No. So was it like Skrillex going like dubstep and then Fortet coming on with like some electronic stuff?
Yeah, Fortet can play like weird stuff, to be honest. So I think they both play like a bit of D&B, like a bit of an essence of D&B, but so like the nice, more melodic stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, to start the set, it just put us off. So we went and seen him alone in another room. But I don't know. I just don't think it was like a compatible like lineup to put on, to go from that to that, and it just didn't work for me. But each their own. Everyone likes something different, don't they? But no, a lot of people cleared out the room when he came on.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I mean, like it's just. I think when he first came out back in the day, it was decent to listen to. You'd be like, yeah, it's all right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of his songs, I mean, I've heard one of his old songs. I tried to do a remix of it the other week, and it was just like, it's like the melodies and stuff that he uses is class, but then it goes into like the proper just shitey sounding dubstep, and you're like, oh, I can't, you know what I mean? You just can't listen.
Didn't he do was it him or Diplo? They'd done one of the Justin Bieber songs when he came out with that new album.
It was both of them, weren't it? It was both of them.
I've got no beef with that. I thought they were great tunes then.
Yeah, they were good. Yeah, what was it? Where Are You Now and that? Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was it's a great tune to listen to on the radio, but like, I don't want to go and see Fortet where he's going to be dropping like electronica and music like that, and then just dubstep, like hard dubstep coming on after. It's just you're in some sort of like mental state prepared for one sort of music, and then that is literally just the biggest switch up I've ever seen. It's just horrible.
That's one thing I love it when DJs mix certain genres together, but
within their set,
yeah. But like, not obviously electronic to dubstep, because that just doesn't go together. But like, if people are doing like sort of like funky house, and then you bring in a bit of groovy techno in the right way, obviously you can't just smack in some proper romper and then like 140 BPM. You won't be because just the vibe would just completely change. But like, if it's done in the right way, I actually really prefer it. But you'd have to do it in that right way, and a lot of people just don't know how to, especially like if you're doing Fortet back to back doing Skrillex.
It's what sets some DJs apart in a way. Like you could go and play like a flawless minimal or flawless tech house set or something like that, and you might think, that was good. Won't stay in your memory. If someone goes on, just thinks, I'm going to play what I want here.
Yeah.
Can't fit like a 90s house tune. You throw a few 90s house tunes in, it just makes a set so much more memorable. But it takes a skill in knowing how to do that at the right time. But it's going to mix in. Is it going to be right for the crowd? Makes a set instantly more memorable, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Fitz, when we went part later last time, he played like what is it now? He played Zombie Nation, and you know what I mean? He played like just different ones like that. And I think the way he combined that between like the techno and stuff, it just got everyone up for it.
It's like old school techno, isn't it? Like it's compatible. Like with minimal, it flows really well with like UKG, which is like garage. So you'll get like a lot of minimal producers do that, and deep house as well, because obviously it's so close. Like the connection between deep house and minimal. So I'll always throw like a few deep house songs into a set, and then I'm probably going to toy about with doing a bit of garage in some sets. But it's just a sweet spot, isn't it? You don't want to mess yourself too much.
Yeah,
have it as a big muddle, but you just play with on, and if you know it fits, then.
That's the thing about practice. I mean, you know what I mean. As long as the more you practice and go like, what's this sound like? Because you might think it in your head, oh, like this will sound good. Now I've done that so many times before. Like, oh, that song will sound good with that song, and then you do it, and you're like, you're just like, no, that was bad. That, but like, to be fair, I think the more you sort of have that awareness of like, I like kind of just put this song in, and like a lot of breakbeat tunes actually really go well.
You
know what I mean? I love it, but like it has to be perfect. You know what I mean? It has to be perfect, but it has to be like the right time, the right thing. It's like sort of midway through the set, and it has to be like a song that goes with it. I feel like when you mix that into each other, I feel like it's just belter as well. It gives people a little break to go like, oh, this is class, this, and then you build it up again. I feel like that's one of the best things.
It's what sets DJs apart, but it's all a learning curve. Like, no DJ in the world can say they've not played a bad set, but definitely. It's so subjective as well. Like he might play a bad set that someone in the crowd thinks, wow, that's the best set I've ever seen. Like music's just subjective really, but there's
Definitely.
even the biggest DJs in the world have had howlers like just either messed the setup completely or just played stuff that didn't go down well. But I mean, Dennis Salter probably does it a lot because he's experimental, but look how well it works out
Well,
for
it
him.
works, yeah, exactly. Big risk, big reward, like we said before.
Exactly,
You know what I
like
mean?
we started off with,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And I think a lot of people, they just need to. I mean, especially if you're an aspiring DJ, and I know a lot of people. I see like a lot of people starting into it now. I've seen like you know like on the like people that we know from like my dad's side. Like we went like this conference in March and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's all people who are like sort of businessy and sort of like spiritual, and you know what I mean, all sort of in that sort of realm. And they're like, "Oh, I want to get into DJing and stuff." Like asking me about DJing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, yeah, so, you know what I mean? Just didn't know together.
Yeah.
And I think people from loads of different scenes are just like, oh, I'd love to do it because it's. I mean, since back in the day when it was all like vinyl and stuff like that, when it was harder to do compared to how it is now, it was just like
It's coming back now, isn't
turntable.
it? Like vinyl's coming
Yeah,
back, making
it's
a
coming
return,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are enjoying the vinyl and stuff, but I mean, like, it's easier to learn on like just a random turntable, like a Pioneer one.
Yeah.
Like all of the starter ones that you had and stuff like that. And,
Digital's so much easier, like,
yeah,
but I think if you learn to mix vinyl, not delved into it myself yet, but then you can mix anything basically.
yeah,
It's so
definitely.
much harder, but yeah, it's something I definitely want to like delve into in the future.
In the future, yeah, it'd be class to do.
Yeah.
I see. When we went to Lenfaki last November, he was doing like vinyl at three times, and I had CDJs as well. I was like, how's he doing that? You know what I mean? He had,
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's just
that's
like
both the setups.
it was just unbelievable the
I
amount of
think you got to
experimental stuff he was doing was it was just class. You know what I mean?
you got to know your music so well with vinyl.
Yeah,
Like, there's obviously like say you're mixing digital, you might put like an 8 bar loop on, so like, the song's just going to repeat itself 8 bars, 8 bars, and you're safe out. You know you can bring that in. You know how it sounds. Vinyl, if you don't know your music, play 16 bars in, and it just starts. The song switches up completely. So you've got to know your music well if you're going to learn to do it.
if you're
Like
gonna learn to do it properly.
at Glass last week, one of the lads he played a full vinyl set,
What did
and
he?
it was just boss. Like it's a skill that's just definitely worth having because I imagine it improves your mixing across the board as well, like
Yeah.
with digital mixing too, and just like your ear for music, it'll just improve loads.
Yeah, definitely hearing it. I mean, especially because like one of the things when you first started, like when I first started learning how to like beat match and everything, I just play, all right, get that bar on that bar, and I think when you learn how to do it properly just by ear, it's a lot easier, especially because you just know it. You just sort of go with the beat. You're like, okay, there you go. But like then you can mix it in properly. But like I feel like if you do that with vinyl, then you'll have a lot more. Just if you start with vinyl first, then you'll have that sort of, you know what I mean, that feel for how you can sort of bring in a certain song.
Yeah, I feel like vinyl to digital is a lot more transferable than going from digital to vinyl. I think
yeah.
you'd have no problem once you'd learn to mix vinyl coming into to mixing digital. Obviously, it'd be a bit of a transition, like
Yeah.
learning how to use a decks, but no, you just get used to it so easily.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is one of the best sort of things to do. And speaking of all them old DJs, like what is like your favourite DJ from not from recently? So like say if you weren't doing minimal. So what is like say like when you were growing up, what was like your inspiration for people that are DJing? So was there anyone that you looked at and was like, oh, I'd like to be him when you were younger? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think I was quite like a late bloomer getting into electronic music, really. But like the 90s is just like a key point to look back at. Like you could just go through like a 90s house playlist, and it's just amazing to listen to, isn't it? Like
Definitely.
that a personal favorite of mine is Passion, the Gap the Core.
Oh yeah, you know what you're on about. Yeah.
That
I
like
can't remember
any
what
time
you
that song's played, like because
Yeah.
again that could go into like a minimal set or like a deep house set. For me, that is like a track that I just aspire to like make music like that or to play music like that. But no, for me, I was like really like getting into electronic music. Even like growing up, I was like rock music and indie music,
Yeah.
even till like early years in school, and it was techno that got me into electronic music before anything.
Before
And I
anything.
sort of went from just listening to like drum code and things like that. Then got into a bit more like the Lenfakians, Femvath, DJs like that. And then when I discovered Forte, was just like a kid in a sweet shop basically, and just sort of
Yeah.
branched out because he just plays anything basically. And I always like really admired that. As much as I'm sort of down the one minimal deep house channel now, I just love his ability to be able to play any sort of music and just not care really, and just know
Yeah.
he's the best at it.
He's the best. Yeah.
So it works. But no, he's always been like a driving inspiration for me really, because like you say, he just has such confidence in himself to just play what he wants. Like I was watching I think it was a Boiler Room set he'd done the other week, or it might have just been a live stream, and he was playing like an Escuche tune. He was like basically like tech house sort of music, but he just fits so well into his set. So he's got the confidence to just switch things up. So he's always been an inspiration for me, really.
I think that's good though, to be fair. I think it sort of keeps you, if that's one of your inspirations like Forte, I think that's a great person to look up to be fair, because he just sort of listens to more the vibe of a tune, you know what I mean? It's like if that fits in well for the set he's planning to do, regardless of what genre, then it'll work. And I mean, it's the same for you. I mean, even though you're going down that minimal deep house, there's going to be one song that might have certain elements in that'll fit into your minimal set that you'd be like, oh, sound, this would be good to bring in here. And I feel like if you had that freedom to just go like, be open-minded and go, all right, sound, yeah, we can do this and put this into here, then it'll make you stand out from a lot of the people who are actually just doing it. Exactly. You know what I mean? It'll make you stand out, especially because, like you said before, like that get the car and stuff like that. If you brought something like that in, then people just like, oh, it's a complete switch up, but the same sort of vibe, and like, yeah, I remember that song from whenever, and it gets people like, you know what I mean? It gets people completely involved in it. I love it.
That's just a classic for me. Yeah. Oh, me too. But I like the diversity of it. It's not just confined to a certain sound. That's what's put me off. Like, don't get me wrong, I can listen to it. That's what put me off tech house. Basically, it gets quite repetitive for me. Like drums build up, big reverb drop. Not everyone's the same. Like, don't get me wrong, the likes of Jamie Jones, and Corolla. If you look back to them, like you said before, like a DJ that's inspired you, I don't think there's many people into electronic music now that wouldn't have either been into Corolla and Jones at some point or been influenced by them. Like they are just massive inspirations, but there's obviously this new sub layer of tech house it's not my cup of tea anyway, but I just find it quite lazy and repetitive, really. Whereas for minimal for me, it's so opposite to how it sounds. Like minimal just doesn't do the genre justice.
The genre.
The name of it.
Because there's always so many components of it. Sound going on at a different time, isn't there? That's one thing I really enjoy about it, to be honest.
So many components to it. It's like it's not predictable at all. Whereas I think the kick and the highs and everything in tech house. For me, it's not always exactly the same, but the drums are like the same. Whereas minimal, you've got so many different like uses, like synth pads and chords and things like that that just make a completely different sound.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, that's one thing I love about it. Hold on, Logan's just going to name us. Oh, I'll have one. Anything on the podcast. Do you want to say hello to Alex? No, you can't see you. Say hello.
Hi. Hi, mate. You okay?
He said you okay. Right. Okay. All right. Sound. Just seeing what happens for tea.
That could be the next topic. What do you want for tea?
Yeah, what do you want for tea? I get what you're on about though with the minimal stuff. I think I get what you're on about the tech house thing as well. Me and Rob were having a conversation the other week, and we were just sort of saying like, as much as I like certain tech house songs, I hear a lot of them that come out now, and I'm like, oh, I'd love for it to be like just don't know, something that stands out for it, because it's always the same groovy bass lines that are in the same way, the same hi-hat patterns, the same. It's just like, I like the genre. It's just everyone's doing like a safe.
It's tired now, isn't it? Like that's what I find great about minimal. It's like it's almost as if the groove's been extracted, like you say, them groovy bass lines. It's like it's been extracted and put into something with just way more to it, way more flavour, and like so many different components that make me enjoy house music, basically. But I've not added like a tech house song to my playlist in months now, because like I'll still listen to it, but the old stuff, like for me when it was fresh and exciting. But for me now, it's just like tight production. I'm pretty much convinced that some people just get like a drum loop that they like, and like big producers I'm talking about, and just put new vocals in. I'm pretty sure you can imagine like a few of the DJs that I'm on about, but the songs just sound build up like a new vocal or something like that, and the exact same drum, the exact same like the low end bass just sounds the same on every track they make.
Yeah, and I'll call it out now. I mean, I don't mean to give any disrespect to people who are talking about. I mean, like the people like Michael Bibby and stuff like that. Like they had.
I don't think he's watching, to be fair, but
no, you never know. You never know.
I mean, that's one of the people like that I pretty much refer to. Like, and a bit less, but Pauser as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I completely understand why people like Pauser, but for me, it's just become so repetitive. His style now, it's just like it works well for him. But it's like a new vocal sample just built into the same what sounds like the same drop every time.
You want to try something
Just
new,
don't,
don't you?
yeah, just don't be like. That's what I love about like electronica. Like you could listen to two songs by the same artist. If someone didn't tell you about the same artist, you wouldn't have a clue. Whereas you can identify a baby track like that, can't you? Just instantly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do like, you know, when he released like some of his first ones, I love them ones. You know what I mean?
Oh
Some of
yeah,
his old ones are class. And I mean, I've just not listened to a new one in ages because just there's nothing new that
yeah.
sort of gained your interest. There needs to be something like class. I mean, for example, you know, like have you listened to Calvin Harris's new ones on that Love
I've
Regenerator
actually not
alias?
no.
Oh
Oh,
my,
sorry. Yeah,
yeah, the new
the techno ones like.
the techno ones, yeah, yeah. And I feel like because he's had such a like, you know, because he's done like all those dance tunes which everyone loves and stuff like that, but I feel like because he's done all them and he's doing a complete switch up to like just pure mad techno, and I
Yeah,
proper love his new tunes at the moment, and I feel
I
like
think I think Oliver Heldens does something similar, you know,
does
a
he?
bit of a techno alias,
Oh no,
and Dead Mouse. I think
yeah,
it's called Cascade Pilot or something like that.
hey, I didn't know Dead Mouse did one.
Seen a video of him dropping apparently his first set was a bit of a car crash, but seeing a video of him dropping a techno track, it looked really good. I think the seeing sense, to be honest, because for me EDM is another genre
Yeah,
like dubstep, where it
yeah,
started off brilliant. Like I think that was probably the first branch of electronic music I listened to, and it's just gone a bit downhill for me.
yeah, definitely the same for me. Like David Guetta's old stuff. I mean, I was listening to that the other day. You know, like I mean, Sexy Chick and all them random ones. They were such a tune back in the day. And
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, just compared to now, it's just like gone downhill. But it's just the way music sort of progresses, and especially for electronic music, it's just the amount of genres is went down. Is like it's completely just made this whole new sound. And to be honest, if it weren't for all these genres in the first place, we wouldn't have all these sound now, because people would just be like, oh, I'm bored of that, let's try this, let's try that. Like Dead Mouse, you know what I mean? Like one of his new songs is a bit like techno, so like I don't know if I've never heard his techno alias, but like one of his new songs is quite like that, and I'm like, all right, so we can see the sort of the way like, you know, the trend that everything's going down. And I feel like the fact that Calvin Harris is doing, like, he did like one with Eli Brown and stuff, and it's a bit like, even though that's a bit like tech housey, it was a bit of a change up, and I was glad to see that at least
Is it CP1? Is that
oh
the
yeah, yeah,
techno one?
CP1, yeah, yeah,
That's the one I've heard anyway, and I thought that was a brilliant tune. It's a bit like acid techno in bit,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
That was a great
He's got a
tune.
couple of ones like Peace, Love, Happiness. I proper love that
No,
one.
I've not heard that. I don't
That's
think.
a good one, and it's just like he keeps like he just did the build up for it, and everything's class, and he just has loads of different sounds in it and everything. It's what you want to hear from like some mainstream DJ like that. And I think the more people go down this new route, then as soon as lockdown, like we said before, as soon as lockdown's over, we're gonna see like such a massive, you know what I mean, new generation of music. There's definitely loads of DJs keeping loads of songs. You know what I mean? They've probably had massive producing sessions now, and they're like, oh, I'll keep loads for when we actually go DJing. And to hear some of them new tunes that'll be coming on, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Especially at all the festivals when, you know, they start back up again. You know, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, there'll be so much coming out, because I think obviously they're going to release stuff because they need to make the money, don't they? But I think at the same time they're going to want to sit on some unreleased tracks, so that when they go out and play the new sets, because you don't be playing all your unreleased stuff really to like one of them Patrick Top and rave. You're gonna play a bit, but you don't want to play all your best tracks to a crowd that can't really get into the music as much.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, there'll be so many tracks being produced at the minute, and I can't wait to see them all come out.
And yeah, just
whenever that will be.
Whenever that'll be, I know. Yeah. So I mean, it'd be good to see eventually. You know what I mean? Eventually, when we get, I reckon it'll be like, we don't know, do we? But I reckon it'll be like next year sometime, maybe. Fingers crossed. Let's hope.
Yeah,
yeah.
We can only hope and pray.
Yeah, exactly. But so like that's gonna be like, say like this new whenever this period ends, which I'm saying like, well, a couple of years, it's gonna create a massive new wave of people that'll be coming into it. So where do you see yourself and the actual whole scene in about 5 years' time? Have you ever pictured that?
5 years.
I know it's long, but have you ever pictured it?
I think it's a good question, because like one thing I'm trying to do at the minute is that I've never really done in the past, and maybe that's where I've not so much gone wrong, but didn't make the progress that I wanted to make, that I'm starting to make now, is just like map out a vision and follow that. So like at the minute I'm sort of focusing on the next 12 months as opposed to the next 5 years. I'll probably do it like year by year, but over the next 12 months, like my main ambitions are sell out a venue in Manchester, because as I say, it's a lot bigger, the scene over there, Manchester and London. So just being able to branch out a little bit, really. You want to get your events away from just being people you know, don't you? It's great seeing people you know there, but you obviously need to be able to appeal to other crowds and other people. Want to be fully set up as a record label with a good amount of releases. Obviously, you've seen what we're doing now with the free downloads. So we've had Yogi P release yesterday, which I'm buzzing about because he's a producer that I've followed for a long time. Got a lot more in the pipeline, to be honest, coming out with like free downloads and stuff. Thinking about doing like a Bandcamp EP as well, just to make like a little bit of money back from it, but like fully set up with distribution some point next year and pushing tunes out to Beatport is where I want to be. The scene, God knows, like I honestly don't know at the minute, but I'd imagine in 12 months' time it might be semi back to normal. But it's just so hard to gauge, isn't it? Because if the plan is to just go to lockdown, come out of lockdown, go into lockdown, it's going to be a lot longer. But I think next summer is going to be, if things are a bit better, I think next summer is just going to be huge for the dance music industry. Like I think events might struggle to get bookings for venues because like so many people are just going to snap them up straight away.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But it's going to be massive next year, I think, whether that's for the right reasons or whether that's because we're just suffering more of the same. And if that is the case, then I think a lot of clubs are going to suffer. Yeah. But I think there'll be a big surge after things get back to normal, where people just want to get back out there. You'll probably see a lot of fresh events starting up as well, because people have just been missing this opportunity. And no one wants to launch an event at the minute, do they?
No.
We were quite unfortunate launching like the start of it. Like we were meant to be playing 3P Records in March, and Meraki was initially meant to be the start of July, I think. So that obviously got massively pushed back, but I think we've done well to bounce back and to be where we are now. So yeah, the next 12 months for me, record label, gigs in Manchester, and to just be happy with the quality of the lineups we're getting, which I already am, don't get me wrong, and to be happy that the crowds that are pulling in are to come and see it, to see that DJ, to see us, not just to see the mates, basically. We want to be able to establish ourselves as like a good brand within minimal, not just like something that people go to because they know us, basically. So that's the ultimate goal for the next year, and then I guess reevaluate that next year. So ask me in 12 months' time, and then it could be so much bigger, like my ambition by then, or it could just be like repeat them steps. Try again. If the label didn't work first time, try again, relaunch it. But yeah, big plans anyway for the future.
That's good. I mean, if anyone wants to listen to the Yogi P song and all the Friktion stuff that's going to be coming out, link to that is in the description below, to the SoundCloud in the description below. below, so it's down there. If you come to where I'm pointing, it's good tunes. To be honest, I actually love these Yogi P tunes, class. And like I didn't even know of him before, and until you got this Friktion. But to be fair, until you got one Friktion, but he actually is class. He's a yogi as well. So his whole yoga page and everything, I was just like, that's class too. So
your sort of person, he seems like, to be fair. Like, I'll just be. I think like before I launched events, you'd always sort of associate like speaking to DJs as being like a dead daunting thing. Like, oh, they don't want to be talking to me. They'll just like push me through their agent, and like you sort of see it the wrong way. But they're just like me and you. They're just normal people like me and you that love music. So getting to speak to more of them and like networking at the minute, you just realise that a lot of them are really approachable. So like I've already been speaking to other people about like releases down the line, and they're just nice, down to earth people, basically. So it's good to network and get them contacts, and it gives you more confidence in the industry than rather than thinking that they're above you, basically, because they don't have that mindset. So
yeah, exactly. And I mean, most people that are like that are humble, and the ones that are actually a bit up themselves, like, oh, I'm not talking to you, then you don't really want to be working with them anyway, let's be honest. No. You know what I mean? So it's good to see, it's refreshing to see that there's so many people that are literally branching out and helping, not helping themselves obviously, but at the same time helping other people. You're just helping others to help themselves is class. And I think with the label stuff, with the free downloads and that, you could be for the minimal scene, I think there's no, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've not seen like any specific proper minimal pages that are doing free downloads. I mean, I know House and stuff like that, you know what I mean, and Moscow's, but they're like they do so many different genres, don't they? They're not just dedicated to one.
Surge smashed it with theirs, really, like that. I think that's what sort of projected them initially, was the free download series. I launched it really early on with us, and it wasn't how I wanted it to be. Like I set the bar a bit low. Like I put one of my own tunes out on there that I wasn't that happy with. I'd put it in my own sets now, but it wasn't like the bar where I wanted it to be. We've had a good release from one of my mates from Slovenia, I think, Kin. So yeah, he released on it as well. So like we're setting the bar a bit higher with it now. But yeah, Surge smashed theirs, and there's a couple UK based. I mean, there's probably a lot more that we don't know of, but like say around this area, it's limited, isn't it? Like the events I know of and like the people I speak to, they've not done a similar thing besides Surge. So no, I think it's a good platform for you. Don't want to just jump straight into a label when no one's heard the Friktion. No one's going to want to. If they like the music, they might, but no one's going to be enticed just by the name to go and buy that track. So you need to get a bit of a platform first.
Yeah, get the free download sort of section. I mean, that's a great thing that a lot of people are doing at the moment, just to help their own fan base, help their own sort of thing grow, and help other people get up at the same time. And I think that's a great thing to do. To be honest, I think it's a great thing you're doing as well, to have that option where people can go like, oh, all right, okay, let's send this song into them. So is there any way that people will say, like, someone's listening right now and they have a minimal track or some sort of minimally house track that they want to release? Is there any way that they can contact you? Is it just through SoundCloud or?
Yeah, well, probably the easiest way if you want to send a demo is a friktionevents@outlook.com.
Right, yeah.
Or on the Instagram page, I'll always respond on that. It's just Friktion Events as well. So obviously, we'd always encourage people to reach out, even if it's like a mix. We don't just look for producers. If people are looking for a platform to get the mixes and the music heard, we do a mix series as well. So yeah, we've got a lot in the works with, particularly with the label, like in transitioning towards that. So that's really exciting. So I'd always encourage people to reach out and speak to us, even if it's a case of it being a no. You can give pointers and stuff like that, can't you? And you can help them improve. So I'd always encourage that. Yeah,
that's one thing a lot of people think. You know what I mean? If someone says like, "Oh, you're wrong," then you'd be like, "Oh, why am I wrong?" I think a lot of people are like, don't call me wrong, and they get too much in, like, you know what I mean, like what they've actually created instead of looking for feedback. But I feel like when people give out constructive criticism, a lot of people just dismiss it because it's like, no, you're not right. But I feel like that constructive criticism is so needed. You know what I mean? I love it when someone goes, all right, you know what I mean, I like this, but it's just, you know what I mean, you could have done this and that, because I'm like, it's something that you don't see. Do you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? So I think it's valuable, and especially if people are like, I don't want to send it in because I think it might be shit. I mean, I remember at Stank, some lad came up to us and was like, I'll make some house tracks, but I just not confident. I'm not confident in releasing it. I was just like, send it across, and I'll tell you what I think of it, and tell you if there's anything to improve. And he went, yeah, sound. And he was like, oh, and he was like getting a bit like, you know what I mean, like unsure, and he just never did. But I was thinking, like, you never know, if he could have sent that across, he might have had that confidence then to be like, oh, my sound, you know what I mean? I'll actually continue doing it and releasing my music to the public. And you only know unless you release it, you know what I mean? I was thinking, like, I was listening to some of my songs, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, fuck it, let's just upload it. You know what I mean? I was just like,
I done the same thing. Like, I wanted to just sit on tracks until I was completely happy with my sound, and like I'd found my sound, and then just thought, why? Like, I could look back on these in 2 years' time, like, wow, look how much I've improved. And no one's gonna look at like a track I make and think, nah, do you remember that one he made that wasn't as good?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you look back and you track your improvement, don't you? And at the end of the day, there's always going to be people that enjoy listening to him. Like we said before, like the first track I made, it's so basic. It was done in like a week of me getting my Ableton subscription. I just sort of nailed it out, but people really enjoyed it. Like, people sending me videos of them listening to it and stuff like that, and said, like, this is great for your first tune. So if I wouldn't have put that out, I'd have just sat on tracks that I weren't releasing for years. Whereas I'd rather look back at it and think, look at the difference between this track and how much I've done and how far I've come, basically.
Yeah, look at the improvement.
About having that confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's the best thing as well. Even if you're not confident in your mixing skills or your mastering skills, you know what I mean? It's just good to just throw it out there and then listen back in a couple of years. Because, I mean, the more you chip away at it, the more you'll improve. I think a lot of people just think, oh, you need to be like I always think, compare it to martial arts or something like that. You know what I mean? You can't just start at a black belt. You know what I mean? You've got to, same with anything. You know what I mean? You've got to just try something, see how it works, and then just keep on going. Like you said with the label things, even if you don't get your label started up in a year's time, then you'd be like, all right, we'll start. Doesn't mean you got to packing in and go, all right, Sam, I'm not going to do it, or completely packing any of your goals. Even if you like rebrand it or do it some different way, or just do it, you still continue with that same goal. You'd be like, right, Sam, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. Because obviously challenges, I think a lot of people just think like, oh, challenges are shit, and then just stop at challenges. But like when challenges are thrown your way, they might be something that would be very beneficial to your actual growth that people don't understand until you have them challenges thrown in your face. You know what I mean?
People jump the gun too much and just expect to go into the field and just be great at it instantly. Like it takes so much like planning and preparation. Like for this label, like you mentioned, then I'm not just going to think one day, yeah, I'd like to do that, and then do it. It takes like serious thought, consideration, like who do you want on that label. You don't just want to settle for like the first name that you get on a demo or the first name that you think of in your head. It's careful consideration, because so many people obviously try it, and it's what separates the good ones from the bad ones, is how switched on you are, how much effort you're willing to put in, and how your vision is mapped out. If you've just thought of it one day and thought, I'm going to do this, you're probably not going to get anywhere without actually really thinking about it and planning it out. Yeah, like the same with everything though, really.
Yeah, it's like the same with everything. Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think sometimes it works though. So let's say some people might just go like, oh, okay, I'll just do a mix or something and it'll sound amazing, you know what I mean, with no mistakes. But at the same time, like that person would have probably had so much preparation and practice from a couple of years, you know what I mean? Doesn't mean you know what I mean? You have to sort of have once you're
an expert in that field, like once you're really good at that field, obviously it's different for you then. But I mean, something that you're completely new to, like you couldn't give a set of decks to someone that's never done it before and just say, right, go on, learn yourself. Don't tell them anything. Don't let them watch any videos or anything. Just figure it out. Basically, it just wouldn't work, would it?
No, it wouldn't work. It'd just be the offbeat match, getting pissed off or something. You know what
I mean? Exactly.
I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? So
it wouldn't be pretty, basically.
No, it definitely wouldn't be pretty. But no, I think everything you're doing at the moment with Friktion, everything's class, and it's great to see where you're growing, and great to see your continuous growth. I think we'll leave it there because I've got another podcast in half an hour and stuff like that. But mate, it was great having this little chat, and it was great having this little podcast to give to other people. As I know a lot of people are going like, oh, I've had a lot of people, you know, on Mad About Me, just TikTok and shit like that, asking like, oh, how do you make money on music and stuff like that? And I feel like just having this conversation about music and different ways that you can actually improve your brand and improve yourself, it probably can be very beneficial to people and people that are actually thinking about starting it. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for coming on, man. I really
thank you for giving me a podcast debut. Enjoyed it.
You're welcome. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of podcasts in the future, so I'll be proud to actually have this. It will. So I'm proud to have this debut and people watching back when you've got those massive songs with Jocko and that. So it'll be good to see, man. So yeah,
I appreciate that, man.
No worries. And if you haven't heard of Bondy's songs or anything like that, it's social media links, everything's going to be in the description below. His SoundCloud link, everything below. So yeah, make sure you go check it out. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later. That was class, that.